Have you ever watched children play house? They have their tiny silverware, their miniature kitchens, plastic food placed neatly on small plates, dolls positioned as mother, father, siblings, and they speak seriously. They pretend to cook. They pretend to argue about bills. They pretend to go to work. And in that moment, it feels real to them. They are completely immersed. They are not thinking, this is a game. To them, it is reality. They believe they are adults. They believe they are living life. But outside of that game, we can clearly see the truth. They are still children. Now pause. What if what we call reality is not much different? Fully immersed in a psychological game they never realized they stepped into? A game of identity? A game of status? A game of money? A game of politics? A game of belief systems handed to them before they were old enough to question them. And just like those children, they are convinced this is the only reality there is. They defend it. They protect it. They build their entire identity inside of it. But here's the part that few are willing to confront. Most people are not living consciously. They are living conditionally. Conditioned to think certain thoughts. Conditioned to desire certain things. Conditioned to fear certain outcomes. Conditioned to chase approval. Conditioned to call distraction happiness. And when someone begins to wake up, when someone begins to question the structure of the game, something very uncomfortable happens. The illusion trembles. And when illusions tremble, those still invested in them feel threatened. Because if the game is not real, then who are they inside of it? If the identity was constructed, then what remains? Waking up is not about superiority. It's not about ego. It's not about thinking you are better than anyone else. It is simply the moment you realize that the paint covering the walls has been hiding decay underneath. And once you see the cracks, you cannot pretend they aren't there. That is why awakening is irreversible. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unknow what you now understand. Painful. When you try to gently shake someone awake, when you try to tell them, there is more than this. There is something behind the curtain. This is not the full picture. Many do not respond with curiosity. They respond with hostility. Why? Because to question the dream is to threaten the dreamer. And the dream can feel safer than reality. The dream tells them they are secure. The dream tells them their beliefs are solid. The dream tells them the system is fair. The dream tells them the distractions are meaningful. The dream tells them the surface is depth, and when someone challenges that, it feels like an attack on their very existence. Some will mock you, some will dismiss you, some will grow distant, against you, not because they hate you, but because they are protecting the only reality they believe exists. The hypnotic pull of the collective dream is strong. It is reinforced daily, through media, through culture, through institutions, through repetition. And beyond that, there are forces, whether you see them psychologically, socially, or spiritually, that thrive on unconsciousness. Systems built on distraction, structures built on fear, economies built on endless craving. Awareness threatens those structures. A person who sees clearly cannot be manipulated easily, cannot be divided easily, cannot be distracted endlessly. Light disrupts shadow, and when enough light enters a room, the shadows do not negotiate. They disappear. So yes, waking up is powerful, but it is not glamorous. It is not comfortable. It is not a social advantage. It is often isolating. Because once you wake up, you realize how much of the world runs on surface-level interaction. Small talk about things that don't matter. Arguments about narratives that were designed. Endless conversations about status, possessions, validation. And you find yourself unable to fully participate. Not because you think you're better, but because you can no longer pretend. You cannot call shadow light. You cannot praise what you now see as hollow. You cannot celebrate illusions you recognize as illusions. And this is where loneliness enters. Awakening removes you from the comfort of the herd. You begin to see how deeply programmed people are, how reactions are predictable, how outrage is manufactured, how desire is engineered, how fear is amplified. And you realize most people are not thinking. They are responding. responding to conditioning, responding to emotional triggers, responding to narratives handed down. Meanwhile, believing it is independent thought. This is not condemnation. It is observation. Because at one point, you were there too. We all were. No one is born awake. Awakening is not an achievement. It is a remembering. A remembering that you are not merely the identity you were handed. You were assigned, not merely the beliefs you inherited. It is seeing behind the veil. And once you see behind it, you understand something crucial. The goal is not to drag everyone out of the dream. You cannot force someone to wake up, just like you cannot convince a child mid-game that the plastic food is not real nourishment. They must outgrow it. They must question it themselves. And sometimes the more you try to pull someone out, the deeper they cling to the illusion. So what do? You remain awake, quietly, firmly. You embody clarity instead of arguing for it. You shine instead of shouting. Because true awakening is not about debate, presence. When someone is ready, they will notice the difference. They will sense the calm. They will feel the groundedness. They will recognize the depth. And they will begin asking their own questions. Awakening is not about rejecting the world. It is about seeing it clearly without being consumed by it. You can still live in society without being psychologically owned by it. You can participate without being hypnotized. You can love people without sharing their illusions. And yes, sometimes it will feel lonely. Because depth is rarer than noise. Clarity is rarer than distraction. Truth is quieter than spectacle. But loneliness is not punishment. It is space to think, space to observe, space to detach from automatic reactions, space to rebuild your inner foundation on something real. The irony is this: many people chase awakening as if it is the ultimate spiritual trophy. But awakening is not the end goal. It is the beginning of responsibility. Responsibility to remain conscious. Responsibility to not fall back asleep. Responsibility to act with integrity when you see manipulation clearly. Responsibility to choose depth over comfort. It strips away illusion. And illusion is comfortable. It paints over decay with bright colors. It decorates emptiness with noise. It replaces meaning with stimulation. When the paint peels away, what you see may not be pretty. Real. And reality, even when heavy, is more stable than fantasy. So if you feel alone because you see differently, understand this: you are not broken. You are not arrogant. You are not strange. You have simply stepped outside the game long enough to notice that it is a game. That awareness may distance you from some people, but it will align you with yourself. And that alignment is priceless. Because once you see behind the world, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you are free in a way that sleepwalkers are not. Free not from society, but from psychological captivity. Free not from responsibility, but from blind obedience. But from unconscious struggle. The world may still call the dream reality, but you no longer have to. And sometimes, quiet awareness is the most powerful rebellion of all.